Yeah, but do your actual impression of me.
Hello, everybody.
That's not the one.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Danielle. I touch people for money.
I mean, I kind of do.
Yeah.
But that's not your usual impression of me.
What is it?
I don't know, you do like this weird, like you make this really squished up face and you're like, I'm Danielle, and I work as the doctor and I make people touch me. No, what? I touch people for money and people give me tips, but just a tip. And you can come to me, so I touch you too. I'm pretty cheap. Thanks.
That was a spot-on impression.
Spot on. Sounds just like me.
So everybody who just thought there are two Danielles.
Fool!
You were wronged. It's just me and one Danielle. Thank you for listening. And I actually think that the last episode, even though it didn't have so much to do with like relationship in the sense that like the topic wasn't super relationship related, people still, I think, liked it. Mm-hmm. So if you want us to do more episodes like that, where we branch out a little bit, then just tell us. Let us know on our Instagram or website or email or whatever. You can also send us a bird with a little note on it.
Isn't that considered animal abuse, though?
I mean, if it's a letter dove. Or pigeon.
But carrier pigeons were not born as carrier pigeons. They were trained to do that.
Yeah, but if they enjoy doing it, it's
how
the
do
same.
We know that they enjoy it?
How is a horse enjoying horse riding?
Ride horsing.
Now we don't know that. We assume that they like it.
The thing is, if
they
didn't like it, they would buck you off.
I mean, a wild horse bucks you off.
Yes.
Yes, so they're trained to not buck us off.
Yeah, but I think they would still buck you off if they didn't like it, because I know plenty of trained horses that have done that. They don't like a certain person riding them and they buck them off.
Look, we are trained to poop inside, but we would actually like to poop outside, but we're not allowed to.
I wouldn't, actually.
Everyone would, Danielle.
I wouldn't.
We would all poop outside.
I would very much not like it.
Let me tell you, we would all poop outside.
And what do you wipe yourself with outside?
Leaves, grass.
Yeah, then you get infections.
Danielle, if you have right poop, you don't even have to wipe at all.
That's still gross. You should always wipe.
I actually do 50-50 now. Because my poop is so good, I don't wipe every time. Because I trust my body to cleanse itself.
I hope that's not really true.
It's not true. No, it's not true. But yeah.
Let's maybe get on the actual topic.
We're talking about.
We are.
Okay. By the way, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
We are talking about pooping outside today.
No, we're not.
And why we all should do it.
He said happy anniversary because, as you may have guessed, it's our anniversary. But it's not really.
It is?
But it is. By the time they're listening to this, it's already past our anniversary. By the time when we're recording this, our anniversary is tomorrow. It's just like a whole time fuck of
3rd of March.
3rd of March. It's our wedding anniversary.
Right.
3 years.
3 years ago, we got married.
How are you feeling about that?
I don't know. I still look back and I'm super thankful, actually, that we were able to celebrate with so many people in a closed space without masks, without distancing, without worrying about a virus, and having your part of your family and also friends here and just having like the time of our lives. At least that's what it was for me.
Yeah, it was for me too.
But the actual episode today is about work-life balance in relationships. And we already wanted to do that multiple times, but my proposed guest didn't want to. He was like, I don't want to be at the podcast. And I said, why not? And he's like, I'm scared. And I was like, you don't have to be scared. Nothing happens to you. Just sit at home and you talk with us and you record yourself and we put it in. And he was like, no, but maybe, no, I don't know. And yeah, that's what it was. And now we're doing it alone. So how is your work-life balance?
I mean, maybe we should just quickly say what a work-life balance is.
I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
It's basically a balance between
work and life balance.
Work life, and private life. Okay, now what's your question?
What is your work-life balance right now?
What is it?
How is it? Or how do you balance it?
I mean, for me, it's, I think, much easier than it is for you because I get to leave the house when I go to work.
Thankfully.
I get to leave the house when I go to work. Granted,
You know,
I don't go very far.
You know what's funny? I have an automated system. Every time you
Automated?
Automated. I don't know. I have a system in place. Every time you leave the house, the song Celebrate Good Times. Come on.
Great.
Plays.
I'm very happy about
And
that for
confetti flies around. It's actually
you
a chore.
would never have confetti fly
It
around
does.
because you would have to
Clean it up all the time.
clean it up
It's a
right
chore.
away
It's a
all the
chore. I have
time.
to disable the confetti because I have to clean it almost every
Don't
day.
you worry that like I might forget something and then I have to come back quickly to grab it?
It happened multiple times.
Oh, that's why you were just like standing really silently
moving.
with confetti falling all over you.
Not moving. If you don't move, she doesn't see you.
No, but really so I have like a 7-minute walk to work, so it's not like I'm super far away, which I really like. But the work that I do is very easy to leave at work, you know?
That's
it's
true.
not like I can really I can bring stress home if I have like really annoying patients or sometimes it's funny, like I have a funny story or something. But sometimes I'm stressed by something or sometimes I'm sad by something, like if a patient dies, which has not thankfully happened yet, or so we have a lot of old people. But there is a patient who called 2 weeks ago or something and said that he's not coming anymore because he found out he had cancer. And it's just, you get sad stuff too.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time, my work stays at work and then I come home and home life is home life. And so I typically don't have like an overlap of the two.
That's nice.
It is nice. It wasn't always that way. I often had an overlap with other jobs, but this one I don't. And I enjoy being able to separate the two. I will say it's actually harder for me the other way around when I go to work if like I'm stressed about something in my personal life. It's hard for me to leave that at home and then be like cheery and happy and, attentive to people when like in the back of my mind there's always something else going on. That's much harder. But yeah, it's pretty easy for me to separate the two otherwise. But yours is much different because your work is, at least right now, mostly at home.
Yeah, but it also depends because in the office I usually go to where I work for a different company, I mostly can leave the stuff there, even though if I'm working from home, because it's only 2 days in the week. And I know once I'm done with those 2 days, I usually don't have to go back to that. And I usually also can finish my tasks to that extent where I don't feel like I left something open.
But don't you also have the feeling like, didn't you have to tell some coworkers that you like, hey, I only work on these 2 days, so like any other time during the week would
they know it at all.
But I feel like there was a problem with that at some point.
Nah, sometimes there are days or weeks where I have to work more or where I have to plan in like a meeting here and there. But that's it. Other than that, there's no problem with that. I can totally shut that off. The other thing is when I work private, like for myself, for my business, that's all different because obviously you have to do everything. You have to take care of finances. You have to take care of new clients. You have to take care of projects. You have to keep like all the projects going and also keep track of them. Like make appointments, think of maybe to call people, ask whatever, And so obviously that's a little harder. And I don't know, that's something I learned already a little bit at university because you have to basically do everything yourself. You have to work for yourself. You have to keep track of all your assignments, of all your exercises and all that stuff on a weekly basis. And you have the deadlines and you have to basically hassle a lot to fulfill all of those tasks at the time that they needed to be done. And that's something I learned already a little bit, to like keep track of all of them and not lose them out of sight, basically. But which means that you most of the time think about it. Like even on the weekends, you think, okay, I have to still do that. I have to still call that person. I have to still write like an invoice or whatever. And yeah, it's not easy to shut that off. I don't think it's possible to completely shut it off.
The thing is, I think that it is. I think that you just have the type of personality that you are. You tend to, I don't know how I would describe it, but even like sometimes at night, like you can't sleep. This happens, I think, less frequently than it used to.
Yeah.
But sometimes at night, like you can't sleep just because you're thinking of all the things you have to do the next day.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to like plan what order you're going to do things the next day so you can make sure you get things done. And it's like, I do that only when there's something really big happening.
Yeah, but that's not happening so much right now anymore, because I don't have that many projects which need to happen in a certain way. And also I don't have that many like urgent deadlines right now. So my projects are mostly super chill at the moment. And I just need to keep track of them, and also like keep track of my future appointments in the coming weeks.
But what is your like? You didn't really quite get to the question. Though,
no,
like,
yeah,
what is your work-life balance?
I'm going the when I started my business, the hard part was to not work. Because when you work for yourself, you can basically choose when to work, and especially at the beginning, you tend to overwork and to do more because you need to acquire clients, you need to do that, you need to do that. There's a lot of stuff you need to learn, you need to overlook, and it can be really stressful. And so you tend to obviously work more, which is fine, I think, to a certain extent. And I think the hardest part there was to find a balance where I can just say, okay, I'm not working during those days or on those hours, because it keeps me sane. And it also keeps my mental health at a level where it's like, manageable.
That was like impossible for you at the beginning. I remember almost that entire first year, you worked every single day of the week. And it wouldn't mean that you worked the whole day every day of the week, but Saturday and Sunday, you always worked.
Yeah.
And maybe it was just 2-3 hours, but it was never less than that. You always did something for a few hours. And I remember being so partly annoyed because I was like, he's always working, and partly just like, what is wrong with him? He needs time for himself and he's not taking it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right now I'm like with Corona and everything, with the state of the economy, I will need to do more again for my business, for like advertisement.
Yeah, but I
and
meant
for
at the
acquiring.
beginning.
And I will need to put more hours into the whole thing again. Luckily, I'm right now pretty chill, like down to probably 35 hours a week, maybe a little less right now, which is kind of nice because the last couple of months were super stressful and a little bit too much. But my work balance right now is that I usually take off Sundays and Saturdays.
Yeah, you've been pretty good about that.
And sure, there are sometimes shooting days on Sundays where we shoot like a little video, but that's like 2-3 hours tops. Or on Saturday morning, like I choose to do a little thing, like some editing or just some web design shit that is like manageable or also time able to okay, that's like 2-3 hours tops, and I'll do that, I'll finish that, and then I'm done with that. But yeah, I definitely had to learn to set boundaries for myself, and it's the same if you're like in a really stressful job where you have deadlines after deadline and you are basically able to work as much as you want, and especially today where most of us work at home, I think it's good to set some boundaries. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
So, the birds, they're so loud right now.
Mm-hmm.
So before my meeting today, the chickens were standing in front of my office window, so obnoxiously loud, like super loud,
Yeah,
like
they're talking.
super. I opened the window, I said, like, please go home. They looked at me, and I said it again, please go home, and then they went home.
That's so funny. For those of you who don't know, in our backyard we have like these hedges, and then there's a little space where you can walk through the hedges, and then there's this big field, and the neighbors have part of that as their backyard, and they have chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And the chickens are like fenced in, but
Yeah.
3 of them, it used to just be 1, then it was 2, and now it's 3.
Yeah.
3 of them are able to jump over the fence,
Yeah.
like jump on and then over the fence, and then they make their way into our front yard because they find all the goodies there, because we feed the birds and
Yeah.
we put bird seed out, and so they've been eating all of that and like digging in our garden and
Oh,
eating
man.
bugs and stuff. I love it. I think it's the sweetest, most endearing thing
it's
ever.
fun.
It's
fun.
so lovely. But apparently they also annoy you they have their little like their
In the
little
morning.
gossip sessions
In the
by
morning,
your
yeah,
office.
in the morning they start yelling around.
Oh, they're gossiping. They're going through all of the
Things.
neighborhood
Uh-huh.
the neighborhood drama.
But back to the program.
Oh, we're not talking about chickens?
No.
Okay.
So obviously, if you work too much, that can hurt your relationship. And it's interesting because, experts or relationship experts actually compare it to cheating in a relationship, because it can feel the same when someone is so invested in their work, when someone is hassling a lot, when someone puts so many over hours in their job that obviously the partner can feel neglected, and it can go so far that it almost feels the same way as if the partner would cheat.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be avoided. I mean, the question why it should be avoided, we don't need to ask that question, obviously, because it basically will hurt your relationship, and it could basically lead to a breakup or to a whatever, fights and arguments and whatever. But I think already like a good sign, if someone is working too much, or if someone is annoyed by you working too much, a good sign that could be the thing is the question or the statement, you're always working too much, or why are you always working, for example. And I think a good or a first thing we or you should ask is, why am I working so much? Why is my partner working so much? And why I am putting so much hours into my work.
Mm-hmm. And to go with that, I think that there are definitely bad reasons to be working too much, but there are also logical reasons to be working too much. And I think it's important to recognize what's okay and what's not. And like some examples are, you might be like at the beginning of your career, or you just got a promotion, or you started a new business, and you need to like prove that, they call it like the proving stage. You need to like prove that you have what it takes. You have to find clients, or you have to demonstrate your worth if it's like a new promotion or something like that. And I think that time it's okay. That's an exception. Another exception is if in your business there's a busy season.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of like retail and stuff, there's busy seasons like Christmas, like holidays and stuff. That's also a thing to consider. Or if the work that you're doing is for a VIP, so somebody who's
Obviously,
who's a necessary customer in your business, or someone, it's like your boss that's asking you to do something. Then I think those are, I think, like some exceptions to when it's okay to work so much. But if your partner recognizes it and says, hey, why are you working so much? You can also politely explain to them like, oh, it's just, it's the busy season, or I have to do this for a VIP and I'm going to get it done and then it'll be back to normal.
I think a big problem there is that most likely that person is very stressed, and most people don't like to work as much, obviously. Some people love it, and workaholics tend to be in that category. But that person needs to recognize that by basically working so much, they are ignoring the needs of the other partner. And that can lead to emotional emotional neglect, which can feel the same as if the partner is cheating. And that's a problem, obviously. So what can we do to avoid that or to make that better? So I think a big thing obviously is talking. It's
shocking.
I had a really good talk with a friend the other day, because he has like some problems right now with his partner, and basically we talked a long time, but basically all I said and repeated to say is talk. And if you can't talk together, then go to like a professional and talk with them together, because sometimes it's needed to have like a third party there who basically is unbiased and guides the conversation into more positive and
rational.
Right. So talking is a good and big point. Ask your partner why he or she or they are working so much. Be open how it makes you feel, and also be understanding, obviously. In some situations it's really hard to say no to work. In some situations maybe the partner feels like, he has to provide, he has to put in the work to not lose the job, for example, and especially in these days. Or maybe he's the sole provider at that point. There are multiple reasons, as you just said, that you have to work a lot. So maybe try to be understanding to that extent.
But as the person who may be working too much, also try to be understanding of your partner's point of view, where if you are working so much that you no longer even really have time for your partner, or it's such minimal amounts of time that it's like you're working 90% of the time and 10% of the time you're with your partner, then it's also important for you to recognize how that might make them feel, and that you are also trying to be accommodating to that, because I think there is a way to balance that even when you have a lot more going on. Yeah,
that's true. And I mean, we talked about that multiple times before. A big thing is already showing an effort and putting some time into the relationship. And sure, nothing feels better than after a long workday to just like fall into the bed and sleep, or watch something and falling asleep while you're watching something, or just relax while, I don't know, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, or watching some YouTube. I don't care. The smallest thing you can already do is to just show some effort and say, hey, let's sit down and talk a little bit. How was your day? Blah, blah. Show an interest. And then maybe make some time. Like, okay, I know it's been hard. I know it's been a lot of work, but let's have dinner night. I'll cook dinner tomorrow or on the weekend, whatever, Plan some time, especially when you work a lot. You should plan ahead. And that's a big point, a big thing to do, and it can help. Those are like small things you can already do to fix those things. But in the long term, it depends what type of person you are. If you're a workaholic, you might need to consider trying to change a few things so you get down from that like stressful and also kind of destructive behavior. Sure, workaholic, sure, it can be fine. It can be if it's fun for you and if you like what you do, that's the best thing. But if you want to be in a relationship, you have to sacrifice things and you have to also compromise. And I think that's a big point, because if you like working so much and if you choose work over your relationship, then maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship at this point in your life.
Or maybe it's the wrong relationship, because there are plenty of people who are with other people who work just as much as they do.
Right.
And they enjoy that, and they say like, okay, then we work as much as we want throughout the week, and then weekends are our time, and for some people that also really works.
Right. Considered the partner is not happy with how much you work. You need to change something in order to make the relationship work and in order to show the other person that they're important to. A big thing we already said is therapy. Maybe find out for yourself why you're putting so much effort and work into your work time, and why it might be hard for you to step away, set boundaries, and make some time for your relationship. And as almost everything in relationships, it takes time, it takes effort. And again, there are small things you can do to show that effort and to show that it's, worth for you to step away from work for a while and make some time. And as I said, being a workaholic can be destructive, not only to the relationship, but also to yourself, to your health, to your mental health. Overworking yourself can lead to depression, can lead to burnouts. And in the end, I mean, sure, money is fine, and it's nice to, have not any, money problems or worry about money. But at the same time, you can't eat money. You don't have it when you die. And in the end, I think the thing that matters cannot be bought.
The thing is, I think the thing that matters is not how much you have, but how much you've experienced. And that doesn't have to mean like you did all these crazy things, but I think it's more about the experiences in life than what we have in our life in the end, like the material things. That's
what I just said. Yeah. The things that matter can't be bought. So friendship, relationships, family, and those things are only able to grow and to prosper when you put time and effort into them. Yeah. But I think especially, I mean, I always say especially in these times, I mean, in every situation, obviously, but there's nothing wrong about working a lot and loving what you do, because I do, and I love what I do. And if I could film every day for hours, I would probably do it for a while, even though setting boundaries but still I would probably put that time into it because I love what I'm doing. But I still try to compensate that time, obviously. And I think it's just about that, where you basically are open about it, talk about it, say, okay, I know those next couple of weeks will be stressful, but then, it will be easier again. Yeah. I don't know if you want to add something else.
I don't think so. I mean, just be open with your partner if you're on either end of the spectrum here, or just communication. I mean, we always say that, but communication really is the key. And if you feel like your partner is working too much, you can say that to them. You can bring that up to them and let them know that that's what you're feeling. And I think especially, I wouldn't even say especially, it doesn't matter if you're living together or not.
Yeah.
But there are definitely it's gotten much better with how much you work, but there are definitely sometimes weeks at a time where I'm like, oh my God, it's just I feel like I never see you. And then by the end of the day, you're so stressed, or you're just so done with how long that you've worked that you want to do something by yourself, which is also okay. Or you just, you play all night, or we just we don't really talk. We just kind of throw in a movie and are just silent. And I think that those days, they still obviously happen. And sometimes you have weeks where you work much longer. But I think it's about finding that balance. And I think given the circumstances, you found a pretty good balance.
I think so too. It's a process, and it's not like where you will at some point probably end up at a good work-life balance where you feel comfortable and you can provide the needed time for your partner or family.
And it's not always going to be perfect, and it's not always going to work the way you want it to work. But the key is that you set boundaries, that you, to the best of your ability, stick to those boundaries, and that you're open with your partner and your partner's open with you about anything that seems like it might be getting in the way of any of that.
Right. Thanks for listening. Please share the podcast.
Share it. Like it.
Please go to Apple Podcast if you haven't done it yet, and rate the podcast. We would really appreciate that. And yeah, other than that, we hope we hear each other next week.
I mean, we will hear each other next week.
No, but the listeners hear us too.
But hopefully. We don't hear them. Yeah. But we would like to.
Yeah. So until next week.
Bye. Bye. Bye.